Everybody, welcome into the Coach and Company podcast, part of a very, very busy day of content coming out of the BTT studios. I am the coach. And this is the entire reason, days like today, of why we started the podcast to support the morning show, which is live on the Stadium Network. And obviously coming up at 2 o'clock Eastern time today on Off the Ropes with the Coach, channel 156, Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7. This is the whole reason we started that channel as well. There's so much news going on, and there's so many changes going on in the media space. And I woke up this morning because I was flying here. I'm doing PGA Tour Live this week, and we do it from PGA Tour headquarters, which is right around the Jacksonville area. And so I didn't get in until around 2 a.m. to my hotel room. So I got to bed around 3. And around 6:30 or 7 o'clock, my phone is just like bang, 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 bang. And so I didn't wake up to look at it. Then when I woke up, it was about 8 friends who have sent me the announcement that starting in 2026, that WWE will move all of their PLEs over from Peacock to ESPN platforms. And that the brand new app that they are starting, I believe the end of the month, it's going to be $29.99. And I knew as they were getting ready to roll it out that to get people to pay, because it's going to be the most expensive app in entertainment, I believe. I don't know that there's another $30 app out there, but that they would have to be able to stock it with enough content and invest and then get the money on the back end. So they start August 21st. So we're getting down to 2 weeks from tomorrow this app launches. And among other things, they had already signed Rich Eisen to come over from whatever platform he was on. He will do his talk show just for the app. They announced that they are buying the NFL Network and NFL Red Zone, and a lot of that will be on the app. But then the big news today in the wrestling world, and this one, there's so many different ways to go. And I instantly, when I read the article, that it's $1.6 billion. And I got to give TKO credit and WWE credit. With all of the things they do when it comes to money, 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 and fans that I have an issue with. When it comes to getting deals done in the corporate world, there might not be anybody better. And I have no issues with that. I really, really don't. They should make as much money as they can possibly bring in. I hate it when they put it over onto the fans and charge thousands of dollars to get into an event. But this is big time news. And I want to very, very quickly take people back because you may not know what happened in 2008. And 2008, I had been trying for 2 years to get out of WWE. I had just gotten married. Our first child was on the way, and I said, I can't travel 52 weeks a year. And so I had an opportunity to work at MSG Network. And then the lady who hired me there, she was the only one that believed in my talent as far as regular sports is concerned. She then went to ESPN, became the senior director of talent. So she was in charge of bringing new talent into ESPN. That's the only reason that I was able to get my job at ESPN and lasted for 10 years. But if you guys knew what I had to go through simply because I had come from the WWE, it would blow your mind. If you knew what was said after my first contract was over, they cut my salary by $60,000 because the person in charge, who is now no longer there, he just didn't like wrestling. He didn't like the WWE. He didn't like the fact that there was a wrestling guy that was now a main Sports Center anchor. And I kind of felt that throughout my 10 years. But after a couple of years, it kind of wore off. And then fast forward to 2014, 2015, WWE was starting to expand these TV deals. They were starting to really get not just a couple hundred million from Spike or USA, but now we're talking 500 million, $1 billion. And I get a call from Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn. Hey, coach, we need your help. If you can get this content on ESPN, then it will really help us in our negotiations with Fox. And so, probably to my detriment, if I'm being honest, I went in and fought and fought and fought, and they finally greenlit. And every single Tuesday, at SmackDown, because the show used to be taped on Tuesdays, we would do an interview with a WWE talent. We would then, my man Matty J would edit up a 8 to 10 minute piece. And so every Tuesday on Sports Center, we would have a bunch of WWE content. That then morphed into taking Sports Center to WrestleMania. And I remember people saying to me, "Oh, this will never work. Why is there wrestling on ESPN? That's real sports. That's fake." I heard it all. I read it all. So now to fast forward to today, and in the last 18 months, you have the likes of Pat McAfee, who went the other direction, went from ESPN to WWE. Then you got Joe Tessitore, who, in my opinion, is one of the best talents in America. And he does one of the biggest college football games every single weekend and has for years. He then goes from ESPN, keeps his job there, to WWE. That never would have happened 17 years ago. But I'm happy that it is, because it's nonsense that people think, well, because this guy did fake wrestling, that they can't do and be really good at sports. Today I saw Peter Rosenberg. He said, my worlds collide. He's at ESPN Radio. He's at ESPN. He's got a podcast on the new Pro Wrestling 24/7 with me. And then he also works for the WWE. Boy, has it changed. And I'm so happy that it has. And then to announce that starting next year, every single PLE will air on an ESPN platform, namely the new app. But I think some of the smaller ones, they're going to simulcast, from everything I read. They're going to simulcast probably on ESPN.com. I don't know how they're going to do it. But the big ones for certain will only be available on their new app. WrestleMania for sure, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. I've heard Money in the Bank, and then also the Royal Rumble. So think about how the world has changed in media. And on top of that, the fact that they now own the NFL Network, they basically own the PLEs. There's going to be a shift in bodies at ESPN as well. What do I mean by that? So a lot of this stuff, including PFL where I work, PGA Tour where I work, they do all of their production themselves. So all ESPN does is air their content. And so now when you've got all of these organizations, the PGA Tour, the UFC, PFL, WWE, NFL, all of that right there, ESPN doesn't produce any of it. They pay to put it on their app and put it on ESPN. That's a seismic shift in everything when it comes to the media. If you are a talent, what do you do? Who do you call? Do you want to do like what I do? I love working for the organizations. That's enjoyable to me because it's different than working at ESPN. And they've also changed how they look at talent too. Back then, I wasn't allowed to do anything outside of ESPN. Now they realize, heck, if this person wants to make $300,000 a year and we pay him $150 and we allow him to go out and make the other $150 somewhere else, that's a win-win, because fans at home don't sit there and go, well, that's an ESPN guy. Why is he on WWE or Fox or CBS or NBC? Why? Now none of that matters. And for a talent like myself, who's always been somewhat unique, I used to sit around with the late, great Stuart Scott late at night, and we'd talk about a lot of different things. But the one thing that he told me, because he went through it at the highest level, is you got to be yourself. And sometimes being yourself doesn't always align with what executives want for a high-level network. We're not talking about local TV. We're talking about the highest level of network, and ESPN has always been that. So now with this new deal, WWE, it's going to be interesting to see what the numbers look like, because I saw something on social media today that if you want to consume all of the WWE content, all of it, it's going to cost you over $500 a year. A year. Now, in the old days of pay-per-views, when they're charging $60, $70, and you can hand pick and choose, and somebody asked me on social media, they said, Coach, do you think we'll be able to decide which PLEs we want to watch and pay separately for those? I don't think so. I think those days are over. You can't do it on Peacock right now. Peacock carries all the PLEs, and I would love to know how their executives feel about it because they still have SmackDown USA, part of the NBC family. So there's got to be a lot of understanding. There's got to be a lot of executives that get out of their own feelings and understand that the world has changed. And I think for the better. But there's a lot of high level gambling going on. And I'm not talking about betting on games. I'm talking about when you're talking about in the billions of dollars, because TKO, $6 billion in debt. ESPN is now spending billions on the NFL and on WWE. They need to get that money back. That's the whole point of business. So at $30 a month, I don't know what the numbers have to be for them to turn a profit. And then also you still have ESPN because I still love cable. I have Cox Cable at home, and I'm not about to get rid of it. There's a lot of cable companies out there that have got to be shaking in their boots because with streaming and these separate apps, there may come a time where cable companies are no longer even needed. Now, I don't think it's anytime soon because I love cable, but there's a million different ways and a million different ways for these things to work. So the 5-year deal will begin in 2026, and it includes the U.S. streaming rights to WWE's PLE events. It will air on ESPN, and we'll see the Disney-owned company pay $325 million per year to the WWE for the broadcast rights. You multiply that out, $1.6 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, this is big, big news. And for somebody like myself, we had a group of 5 of us, or 6 of us maybe, that we were like standing strong. We were the ones that went and took SportsCenter to WrestleMania 2 or 3 years in a row. I've gotten texts from 3 of them and taking pride in what we did. And I think in life, sometimes when you do something and you're the first to do it, that when you get validated, even if it's 10 years later, because this is 10 years after we went to the very first WrestleMania with SportsCenter. When you get validated and somebody says, you know what, this does make sense. When you see ESPN PR putting out a tweet that has the hands intertwined, there's validation in my mind. And I hope all of you can understand that. There is validation because everybody told us it wouldn't work. There's validation because everybody told us, no, this doesn't make sense. Real sports and entertainment. And yet TKO put out a statement today saying, we want to put the E in ESPN, which has always stood for entertainment. This is a big time change. If you're agents, if you're talent, hell, if you're editors, if you're producers, whatever it is, the world is changing. It almost might be better if you work directly for the organization instead of directly for ESPN. It's going to be very, very limited. Very, very limited. Because as I just said, all of these are doing their own production. This week, PGA Tour, I'm in the building. They just built a $100 million facility for us to do our own production, and then it airs on ESPN Plus. See what I'm saying? It's going to be so different than anything that we've ever been used to. And the part that's funny to me, because I've had a few people send me tweets saying, Coach, I'm putting my foot down. I'm not paying for Netflix for, you can pay up to $25 a month for Netflix. There's some tiers that are that much. I'm not paying $50 a month for this. Oh, hell no. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. The first time you see a SummerSlam where Seth Rollins cashes in, Brock Lesnar comes back, and you miss it, you're going to pay for it. And I wonder if you can turn your account on and off by the month. That'll be interesting because I know that you can pay for ESPN Plus by the month. And ESPN Plus has to stick around because of things like the PGA Tour, like the UFC. There's other things that have deals with ESPN Plus. So there's a lot to unpack here. So Jay Saw says you should tell people to listen to all the interviews that are going on, especially the Varsity podcast with Nick Khan. He explains it all. Nick Khan is a guy that I've known for almost 20 years. He was a big time agent before he negotiated the Fox deal that I helped get to the table. He actually negotiated it. And say what you want about Nick Khan, he's able to get deals done. And sometimes that's all you need to say. He gets deals done. And so now, as we move forward, I encourage you, if you're not a subscriber to SiriusXM, you want to listen to my show every single day. We break down the bigger topics. The Coach and Bro Show, me and Vince Russo, Mondays and Thursdays. We'll break all this down. What does it mean? But this is a change, especially if you're a new school wrestling fan. This is going to be normal. If you're an OG, you're going to have to adjust a little bit because it wasn't that long ago that the WWE network existed. That's gone. Then we go to Peacock. Now that's gone. Now we go to Netflix. That will still exist. But now they have essentially a partner in ESPN and a lot of money to be spent and a lot of money to be made back. All right, that's going to do it for today. I've got to go get ready for my Sirius show. I'll be a part of BetMGM tonight. I'll have a segment on there. So just follow me on social media at The Coach Rules to follow every single place that you find us. But the last thing I want to say is what we try to do here is educate you so you can become a smarter sports fan, so you're not jaded, so you're not just going on social media and just throwing out opinions that don't come from somebody who's been in the business that knows. And this is something that I know. Been there, seen it, watched Vince do it. And I think the more you understand, the more you're going to enjoy the content. All right, that's going to do it for now. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're here every single weekday that I'm available. We'll be back tomorrow. Obviously, the St. Jude starts on ESPN Plus. For now, producer man, I'm the coach. We'll see you. This is Coach and Company, the podcast.